Hey guys, welcome back. We have a midweek energy update to get into. Very sensitive, emotional energy this week. If you find yourself just feeling a bit overcome by emotion, it's probably as a result of on Wednesday, a grand water trine that we have going on, and on Thursday, the moon and Scorpio trining the North Node and Neptune in a conjunction in the sign of Pisces. We've got lots of water energy going on generally right now. Of course, we've got a big stellium of planets in the sign of Pisces. Mercury's there, the sun just entered Pisces, and we've had Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces. So we've got a lot of energy just kind of like flowing through the emotional realms of things. And then with the moon transiting Scorpio this week as well, of course, trining the Pisces energy, and we have Mars retrograding through the sign of Cancer. This could just be really hitting on a feeling-based level. A lot of people could be in their feelings. We also have some interesting energy going on in a different regard as well this week, as on Thursday, Mercury and Jupiter come to an exact square together. This is generally this is a pretty uplifting, optimistic, like big picture perspective type of energy, but both of these planets are in their sign of detriment right now. And of course, Mercury's ruling the position of Jupiter while they make the square. There could be some like confusion, miscommunication, or at least like things maybe seeming a bit unreal somehow as we move through the week. There could also be some like big unexpected announcements or something along those lines. The moon and Scorpio will also be forming in opposition to Uranus on Wednesday. So we do have a bit of a shock factor back again as we hit the midpoint of our week this week, although I feel like it's just more of this generalized strangeness. Anyways, you guys, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get into our report of the day, put all this together, see where we are at on Wednesday, moving into Thursday, and what things look like as we prepare to hit the weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field for more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews. So there could be some messages in there for you. We will do that at the end. Let's talk about the astrology though, you guys. I've been saying that I feel like we are moving through a period of general strangeness. I think that we've got more of this strangeness going on as we move through the week this week. There could be some like literally just some things happening, or announcements or messages or information or something that you're learning, or somebody saying something to you that is just like disorienting or like confusing somehow, or is making you question what you thought you knew or what you thought you believed about things. One of the major energies that we have going on this week is a square, a mutable square that is happening between Jupiter in the sign of Gemini and Mercury in the sign of Pisces. This is a tricky energy. Now, I'm also going to talk, of course, about this very kind of like powerful water energy that we've got going on this week. We've got major Pisces stellium, we've got Mars in Cancer, moon transiting Scorpio Wednesday and Thursday. So the emotional energy is very strong and dominant this week. Everything that is going on pretty much is going to be, I think, driven by these emotional undercurrents, maybe also like intuitive urges and stuff like that. Very spiritual, very psychic, okay, very strong intuition of things, not clear logic, not very rational, not like linear. This is good kind of like pattern recognition type of energy, but not necessarily like linear planning, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like things going on in a proper coherent order. It's kind of, I don't know, okay, it's like it's blurry. That's a good way. Like the lines between things are blurry, like our understanding or like what we think that we are coming to perceive about things is just probably not super solid here. Now, again, let's like go back real quick to this Mercury Jupiter square, and then I'm gonna go back again to like the beginning and start talking more about the water energy. But I do want to say this Jupiter Mercury square is a little tricky. Now, normally, a square between Mercury and Jupiter isn't that tough. I mean, these are square aspects. That's the most challenging aspect in astrology, like the 90-degree aspects. A lot of times it brings tension, it can bring conflict, it can require like resolutions and stuff like that. But the square between Mercury and Jupiter generally is like not inherently as tricky or difficult as a lot of other square aspects between other planets. The one kind of red flag with this energy generally is it can cause us to like overestimate or overlook things. Like it can really give us a very big picture perspective, inflated sense of like understanding and knowledge, and we may be overlooking some like important details or fine print that are required in order to like make the process of growth from idea into whatever that bigger picture or bigger vision is actually like functionally work and manifest and take place. There can be a lack of ability to like pin down the important details that have to go on in order so that the whole story can like unfold according to that big vision, because we have a big vision and we're generally pretty like optimistic about it, and we kind of like believe that we can do it when we've got a square between Mercury and Jupiter. It's just that, as I said, it can kind of like skew the perspective away from just like the more smaller aspects that need to be completed, as we are just more focused on this big picture, which can lead to like little errors and stuff like that. But that whole thing is kind of distorted. Like that whole vibe that this energy generally gives, that square that I was just describing between Mercury and Jupiter, it's kind of distorted right now because of the signs that these planets are in. First of all, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, which is like it's known as a sign of detriment for Jupiter. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Gemini is the oppositional sign to Sagittarius. So Jupiter is in the sign oppositional to his sign of rulership. So this can kind of like distort the way that the Jupiterian energy typically manifests and, plays itself out there. And on top of that, Mercury, who rules the sign of Gemini, where Jupiter is right now and is the planet that Jupiter is squaring, is similarly also in his sign of detriment. Mercury rules Gemini and also Virgo. Pisces is opposite Virgo, so therefore Mercury is also in an oppositional sign to his sign of rulership, also therefore kind of like skewing or distorting the traditional qualities and strengths associated with the mercurial energy. Okay, so it's not that like these planets are, going to perform bad. They're not like negative because they are in these particular signs. It's just that they're operating a little bit different. And then in the context of the square energy, also what we might normally expect from the Mercury Jupiter square in terms of, the optimistic perspective and maybe the clarity or just like the big picture that's going on. I feel like it's just presenting with a level of distortion, lack of clarity. It perhaps could be causing us to overlook or overestimate things to an even greater extent, and perhaps the lack of perception of those details or that finer print or those smaller aspects of things that need to happen so that things can unfold properly could just be like neglected or abandoned or not recognized or not noticed, kind of like get lost in, like the big vision that could be presenting right now as well. Mercury in the sign of Pisces, it's not logical, right? It's not this traditional linear thought process associated with the mercurial energy. That's not to say that it's a bad energy. It has its own strengths. It's very artistic, it's very creative, it's very good again at like piecing together patterns and like seeing kind of like trends and things, and because of this pattern recognition kind of lends an additional like intuitive faculty as well to the Mercury in Pisces energy. It's kind of good at strategy and like gameplay and like gaming things out and stuff like that. but it's just not necessarily super rational, okay, in its approach. And then we've got the square going on from Jupiter in Gemini. Again, Mercury ruling that Gemini energy. Gemini's about information, what we're talking about, what we're thinking about. So there could just be something that's like a little bit off, like that we're not seeing properly, that is like skewed or distorted. Like people could be in a bit of a fantasy land out there. Things could seem like overly optimistic, like a bit too good to be true, and then also people not wanting to perhaps acknowledge maybe like the cracks in situations or the more minute details or like the rules or something that need to be adhered to. I don't know. So there could be something along those lines as well. Again, a lot of the informational component of whatever's going on could seem kind of unreal, could be bringing up some doubts, could be causing us to question some things. But again, also, and as a result of this water trine energy that we're going to go back and start talking more so about now, I do think that there are constructive and productive solutions to like root core problems that are coming through with this as well. And even though we do have, as I said, a very like emotional and sensitive energy going on all week, these are for some reason perhaps like constructive emotions. Like there's something productive or beneficial that comes through the application of this emotional energy, whether it be something that we are just releasing and getting out so that we can let go and move on from something, or whether we are learning some lesson through whatever they're presenting, or whether these emotions are just driving us to do or build or create something that is ultimately productive somehow. There's like something of significance in the context of whatever these emotions kind of like are kicking up or bringing out of us, okay? So all of that. Now, just to walk it back a little bit and tell you guys specifically what aspects exactly that we've got, and then I'm talking about and looking at playing out Wednesday into Thursday this week. Number one, as I have said, the moon is transiting through Scorpio, which on Wednesday gives us this grand water trine between Mars in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, the moon in Scorpio. We also are going to on Wednesday have the moon in Scorpio opposing Uranus. This, of course, definitely could add this like element of uncertainty or additional strangeness, maybe like a bit of a shock factor, things not exactly going how we had planned. The grand water trine, moon Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, that is what is bringing this constructive element to the emotional energy that we do have present this week. This is also an energy that helps us to stabilize our emotions, even though perhaps we could be going through or dealing with this stronger emotional energy this week. The Mars Saturn, it does ground us emotionally. Like it does provide some emotional support, perseverance, endurance, maybe feeling like we can trust or rely on ourselves a bit more to keep going even when the going gets tough. That's kind of what Mars and Cancer and water signs reminds me of. It's like when the going gets tough, the tough keep going. I think that's the saying or something along those lines, but it does help us to be just a bit more resilient on that emotional level. Also, Mars trine Saturn and these water signs, I've been talking about this is also a master builder energy to me. Highly, highly creative energy, especially as the moon transits through Scorpio on Wednesday and comes into that water trine. There could be some deep emotions that are translating into some very like masterful artistic or creative works or endeavors or projects or building, or our ability also to fix things that are coming or that come from this type of energetic setup going on. The moon opposing Uranus also is that like awakening. This really is a very good energetic setup for any type of kind of like invention or creation or like blueprints and plans coming through and like a flash of insight, sudden download that we know how to translate from like the visual in our mind's eye into like practical, like tangible on paper blueprints and plans and stuff. That type of energy is supported in this type of planetary setup. So we've got that, but then we've also got this Mercury Jupiter square in Gemini and Pisces, which is also maybe making things seem a little bit unrealistic or just unreal generally, possibly irrational, possibly borderline delusional. When we add these two energies together, the moon in Scorpio trining Mars and Saturn and these water signs, like on one hand, this is bringing solutions. Like we get an opportunity to fix things from like their most basic fundamental level, but it's through a process of breakdown. We've got Saturn in the sign of Pisces because we're talking about Saturn and Pisces. Saturn and Pisces right now, and as Saturn continues to move through the sign of Pisces, one of the ways that this energy is going to manifest is going to be in terms of like the breakdown and the disintegration of previous systems of control, of belief, of authority, of government, like this dismantling, dismembering, fractioning, disintegration, breakdown, washing away of the foundations that essentially like established the rules in terms of a lot of things of the past. And again, this could be very belief system oriented as well, with the moon transiting through Scorpio, hitting that trine to Saturn right there. That is like things bubbling up from the depths, or things of a very like deep nature in the context of our belief systems, or things that we're very passionate about, or things being uncovered or exposed. This is the root of things. This is the core of things. Mars retrograding through Cancer, this is like what needs to be reworked, like how we need to use our energy different, like what needs to be repaired. So when we put all these three together, I feel like we have a very like penetrating emotional insight sort of into what needs to be fixed and changed in order to either like break down these structures or these rules or these limitations or these belief systems from the past, so that they can be essentially like redone or relaid or reestablished in a way that is moving us in the right direction moving forward when Mars stations direct, which is actually happening next week. That's on the 24th, I believe, is when Mars is stationing direct. So we are concluding Mars's retrograde right now, and the moon coming through here, what I mean to say by that whole spiel is there could just be like, it could be very intuitive. Again, it could be psychic, it could be a spiritual experience, or like some type of inner knowing, or there could be something that is just like exposed to its core, to its root, that gives us an opportunity to let go of something, to release something, to end something, or to fix, repair, rework something in a way that is hopefully going to help solve whatever was at the core or the root of the issue moving forward. As Mars prepares to station direct, things are about to start really moving forward, but there's like some edits, some repairs, some fixes that still need to be made in the context of the way that we are using our energy, the way that we are. Mars, of course, is the active force. It's also has to do with what's moving us forward, what's propelling us forward, our energy. So yeah, there could be some things that we are figuring out, finding out, gaining solutions for, or just coming to understand on maybe like a deeper emotional level that is helping us to release or let go of some things with this energy. But then when we also bring into it, well, for one, the opposition to Uranus, that could be, again, something that is like shocking or just surprising, or some type of an epiphany, flash of insight that is hitting us. Or with the Mercury Jupiter square as well, that could be presenting some information that is causing us to question things, or that is bringing up against some doubts or something like that. Hearing something, seeing something, something being like announced or disclosed in a way that is just like making us perhaps question what is real and what is not. We're talking about Pisces. This is, of course, the sign having to do with dreams and fantasy and imagination and all that is like unseen. And then we're talking about Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, which is facts and information and, this like more logical, mercurial energy. So the contradiction between fact and fantasy, truth and illusion, like what is real and what is not, and what can I believe and what can I trust, and what is just generally going on. That could be where we find ourselves as we come into the midpoint of our week. It is possible that people are just going to be in a bit of a fantasy land about maybe what they're doing, what they're building, what they're creating, feeling like anything is possible. This is this like lofty, more optimistic energy with Mercury and Jupiter, but also then, you know, the kind of like downside of this energy, maybe not considering the actual process that would need to go on and the whether or not it's actually realistic or practical or tangible to make that thing happen. But there are likely to be big announcements or maybe releases of information about perhaps projects, maybe alterations, changes, solutions to things that are underway that we weren't prepared for, perhaps maybe with the Uranian energy, or that we weren't expecting. This could also lead to maybe some of that confusion or disorientation that could be going on. It's interesting because I'm talking about this square that we've got between Mercury and Jupiter and all this Piscean energy, and we literally have Mercury, the mind, the messenger planet, like our thoughts and thought processes and stuff like that at 10 degrees of Pisces on Wednesday. That Sabian symbol is an aviator in the clouds. So I'm telling you guys, like, things just may be a little bit cloudy, a little bit foggy. We may also just kind of feel out of it, like a little bit hard to shake ourselves, you know, out of it. Sleepy, dreamy, kind of just can't get with it Wednesday and Thursday. If you're feeling like that, it's just kind of the way this energy is. Like I said, Thursday, the moon will leave Scorpio, enter Sagittarius. That should kind of turn the lights back on, but it is just this more ethereal type of energy that we've got going on Wednesday into Thursday. So things could seem unreal, information could seem unreal. This could leave people kind of feeling shocked or stunned about things. It could have to do with breakdowns in authority. It could have to do with breakdowns in hierarchies or tradition, rules, shifting power dynamics and stuff like that as well. Transitions in power. A sense of anger or depression or passion could really be motivating and driving a lot of this, or come as a byproduct of some of this stuff going on, especially on Wednesday with this grand water trine coming out. Again, like, emotions are going to be what is driving a lot of the action that's playing out as the moon in Scorpio, which is also ruled by Mars, trines Mars in Cancer. We've got also a Mars moon mutual reception going on Wednesday into Thursday. So again, this is emphasizing just like the very sensitive, emotionally driven nature of things right now. And also this very like lofty, dreamy, idealistic, like vision oriented, big picture oriented perspective that our emotions are probably somehow very tied to, with both a grand trine and water going on and Mercury in Pisces squaring Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. This could also create sort of a resistance, I would say, especially maybe on Wednesday as the moon in Scorpio opposes Uranus as well, or a lack of tolerance for any type of stagnancy to things or people or situations who like don't share our vision, don't support our goal or our plans, like don't see the whole image, the big picture that we're seeing right now. I think that there's just going to be a very low tolerance for anyone who thinks that they might just rain on our parade out there. There's a lot of water going on, a lot of water energy going on this week, but I don't think that we are going to be cool with that type of thing. Okay, so it could also have to do with resources, assets, and money, maybe sudden gains or losses also in the context of just the way that this particular setup is playing itself out there. But overall, I do think generally it is a relatively good week to bring a vision to life, or to make a deal maybe, or a negotiation, or to work on something of significance. There's just likely to be maybe something that's a little bit unreal about it somehow, or disorienting. It doesn't mean that it's not real. Like, that's something that we need to be clear on as well. It doesn't mean that it's not real. It just means like something about it might feel like, how is this real? How is this happening? Or it could just be disorienting us somehow. Remember the aviator in the clouds. Another thing that I need to say about this energy, it's kind of just like classic to keep in mind. Mercury in the sign of Pisces squaring Jupiter and Gemini. People may not be being completely honest about things. Again, lacking clarity, not straightforward, lacking confusion, illusion, delusion, fantasy, like the dream, the vision, the image, the projection. Like this is very, very, very like Mercury Pisces type of energy, the narrative. Okay, so deception, I would say both intentional and unintentional, would be quite highlighted and indicated here as well. For the most part, I think people are just going to be kind of feeling optimistic about things, maybe very focused on what could be, and maybe just wrapped up in really truly believing that things are how they say they are. And I think maybe perhaps some of the not completely honest, truthful, or straightforward information could come through that way, like just not even intentional. People just so caught up on whatever their situation is that they're just like taking it a little bit over the top. We want to be careful that we are not doing that and not like over promising and stuff in that regard as well. Not necessarily like trying to paint a false portrait of things or stretch the truth, but it could just be an ultimate like outcome of how this energy is operating. But then there are people who just will be blatantly deceptive in this energy as well, because that type of thing just has a tendency of occurring with this type of energetic setup also. But as I was saying earlier, that Scorpio moon, like, and Mercury and Jupiter also, this can break down illusions, like fact and fantasy, right? Just as much as the energy is distorting maybe our ability to decipher or discern the difference between what is real and what is not, it's also breaking down illusions and that truth is emerging. So it's not just like us being caught up in some type of an illusion, it's also, on the other hand, like us getting pulled into some type of reality also. Whereas maybe we had been under some type of perception or understanding that this thing couldn't possibly be true, coming to find out, oh, that actually that is true, and that thing that I had believed for so long is actually the fallacy. So it can go both ways with this, okay, which can also lend itself to this more disorienting or confusing energy that could be coming up now as well. But answers, options, solutions, and opportunities could come through with this, like finding the missing piece of the puzzle that just suddenly shows up here, finding the missing link, solutions presenting themselves, again, like seeing the pattern, and as a result of that, being able to like connect the dots and figure something out. Energy, especially on Wednesday, is supportive of that type of thing. This could also have the impact of us being, again, like suddenly released from something, with the Uranus opposition also. Something that suddenly frees us up or opens us up or opens things up or creates movement for us to, I don't know, move forward with something somehow. Or you could also, this is another way that this energy could present, you could find yourself just like very intrigued by something, like very caught up maybe in some type of storyline, probably along the lines of maybe an investigation or a drama or a mystery that you're paying attention to, or that you're trying to solve, or something like that, really capturing your attention, like can't look away, very just like hooked and following this unraveling thread that is very interesting for some reason right now. But still, even that type of thing, like there's probably something that is very strange about it. So there's so many ways that this energy could go, but that is another way. We could find ourselves just captivated by solving a mystery or following some unfolding drama or exposing something somehow. That is another way that this energy is likely to be presenting itself. Okay, so everything that is strange is taking center stage and continuing, I feel like, as we move through the week. On Thursday, before the moon leaves Scorpio and enters Sag, there will also be an exact trine that occurs between Neptune and the north node of the moon in the sign of Pisces, who are also in a conjunction right now. The day on Thursday, it's another one of those days where it's like how the day starts is not how the the day finishes, you may have a real hard time pulling yourself out of bed when the moon in Scorpio is trining the North Node and Neptune on Thursday. But by the end of the day, again, like, the moon will move into a fire sign and something is likely to just light our fire again, like the lights going on. Something might be like stimulating us or just energizing us on some level. Okay, so when we start the day on Thursday, you may feel a bit like an unwilling participant in the so-called reality. That North Node Neptune conjunction really can create an urge to not participate. It is a detachment from reality. It's very, very, very highly spiritual in nature, but it can just provoke, I feel like, some sentiments that have like a yearning for escapism from the actual like physical, tangible reality. So you may just like not want to go out of bed. Like sleeping and dreaming could be a very, or feel like a very highly superior alternative to like whatever's going on in your life as we begin the day on Thursday. It could also just be more of this disorienting or even like depressed or disconnected, dissociative, avoidant energy. You might just really, really not feel like participating in whatever you've got going on that day. It also could be to the same extent, we could find ourselves caught maybe in some type of creative or artistic, inspired or spiritual flow that we just have zero desire to pull ourselves away from, that is very all-consuming. And again, like this overwhelming desire maybe to feel a spiritual connection, to channel divine inspiration, to escape reality somehow. So that is perhaps how you could be feeling as we get the day started on Thursday. But the moon shortly after making that trine to the North Node and Neptune in the end of Scorpio will leave Scorpio, enter Sagittarius, and that lights things back up again. But it's I don't know, because that means that the sun and the moon are now forming their third quarter square, because we've got the sun in the beginning of Pisces right now. As the moon enters Sagittarius, we will have a square going on between the moon and the sun, which can also bring up some tension, some like inner conflict, some irritation, just like a general sense of hostility or contention. So there is that. Now on the plus side, the moon transiting through Sagittarius will bring the moon into a trine with Venus, who is currently transiting through Aries. Generally, this is pretty harmonious for social situations and dynamics, relationship dynamics. However, Venus is in the sign of Aries right now. Venus in Aries can be a bit prone to conflict and relationship conflict. The moon is also in the sign of Sagittarius right now, which is of course ruled by Jupiter, who on Thursday, while this is happening, is exactly square Mercury in Pisces Gemini, which I've already talked so much about. So I don't know, like there could be some confusion or some things that are being said without a lot of careful thought or consideration that cause some fights or conflicts to go on in relationships, or just a generalized like lack of harmony. Now, I shouldn't really be saying that because, again, of the trine between the moon and Venus. This usually is relationship harmony, but just because of the distortion that is possible, the lack of understanding, perhaps the debates, or just like questioning things that are going on with this square between Jupiter and Mercury exact on Thursday, and the square, the third quarter square to the sun and Venus while in trine to the moon, yes, but also being in a sign of Aries. Yeah, I don't know. There could just be a more conflict-oriented nature to the day on Thursday. Maybe it's just internalized conflict, like inner conflict, inner tension, or confusion going on. But I think that people could be just kind of like maybe going at it a little bit as a result of that. There could also be like disputes or conflicts maybe over resources or over what's fair, or like property or assets, or things that have happened in relationships that need to be like sorted out and stuff like that. So we could have that going on Thursday. overall, you guys, I think this is going to be a much slower event stream Wednesday moving into Thursday this week, especially than we had going on last week and all that supercharged Aquarian energy. But it probably will be equally strange, probably significant things going on again that maybe just make us question a lot. Less charged up, less fast paced, less shocking, but things still like very, like, again, this word, like otherworldly and hard to discern what is actually happening and what is just like actually not real. Okay, so things may seem unclear, irrational, maybe just like a little bit sleepy moving into Thursday, but they definitely should pick up and be reinvigorated somehow later on Thursday and as we head into the weekend. So it's funny also because I told you about the symbolism of Mercury on Wednesday at 10 degrees of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is an aviator in the clouds, but by the time that we get to Thursday, where the exact square is taking place between Mercury and Jupiter, Mercury will have moved to 12 degrees of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of an occult brotherhood. So we go from literally being like in the clouds to an examination or occult initiation. So things should, I would say, sharpen mentally throughout the day. This is also, Jupiter is at 12 degrees of sign of Gemini for that square. A slave girl demands her rights of her mistress. So again, this is honestly, like, this is also talking about like uncovering or coming into contact with or coming to understand or being made aware of perhaps some type of hidden knowledge or information or spiritual perspective or enlightenment or something that causes us to experience maybe some type of liberation, breakaway, breakdown, and also freeing the mind with Jupiter and Gemini at this degree. Jupiter is about truth and freedom as well. This really is like the truth will set you free, and it could be having to, you know, clear out a lot of the illusions maybe, or reestablish our perspective on like what is actually real and what is actually not. And that's just what keeps coming up here for me as we are heading to more towards this Pisces season. The contradiction between truth and illusion, and the like difficulty in discerning what is actually real and what is actually not. This is also, of course, as I've said, a very, very spiritual time, very, very strong psychic energy. Would not be surprised if a lot of people are again experiencing some of these more like spiritually oriented phenomenon or something like that, spiritual experiences that could be opening our eyes and really like changing or shifting our belief systems and perspectives on things as well. Trust your intuition this week, especially on Wednesday. Like, it is a very, very powerful guiding force. Remember, like, be very careful listening to other people also. Like with the Jupiter Mercury square, no one's really going to know what they're talking about. People really may be very sure of themselves and really projecting like they've got a great idea of what's going on and you should go all in and believe them on everything that they're saying. But there is a level of distortion to this. Again, like, if it's not intentional deception, people are, it's like self-deception in some ways, or people just not like being able to perceive maybe all of the necessary steps in order to make that happen. Like, there's just be very careful listening, believing, trusting what other people are trying to tell you and convince you of this energy. Our own inner compass, I would say, is a more accurate guide in terms of, you know, what we need to be focusing on, or maybe even what is real as we move through this. But it is about solving root problems, making corrections, and reestablishing our own perception, I would say, of what is real and what is not as we begin to move forward through what is going to be just a very strange year. And we are going to go through some major, major transformations as we continue to move throughout the course of this year, which I mean have already started to take place, and I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing a lot of that. So that's what I have to say today, you guys, about the astrology. Just keep in mind, you know, things are not all that clear out there, and so just be very careful about what you are like going like putting yourself all into, okay? Now, in terms of the tarot message that we have coming out here, again, we've got kind of like a strange, I think it's a little bit strange message coming out here. We've got the Queen of Cups in reverse with the Four of Cups. There could be like, we could feel like kind of maybe like a lack of compassion from people. People may not be all that interested in like listening to your issues or helping you to like navigate or maybe unpack some emotions. That could be something that we kind of like need to do more so on our own as we move through this. It's interesting that we had the Queen of Cups come out in reverse with the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is like a sense of like apathy, like not really caring, you know, not paying attention. This is also talking to me about like people disregarding perhaps their intuition, you know, their gut feeling like it's not real or it doesn't matter. This could also be like a sense of depression, honestly, or just, again, like avoidance, escapism, not wanting to be involved. But it's also interesting because we had the Magician come out as well, which of course is about like tapping and harnessing our own creative power in order to sort of like direct the course and outcomes of events. We want to, I feel like that we want to make sure that we are not disregarding our feelings, like not disregarding our emotions in pursuit of what it is that we want to build and create. We have the King of Pentacles on the back of the deck. That's like commitment, that's like investment, that's like the ultimate goal, that's like being empowered through our resources and like our worldly reputation and stuff like that. It's like the goals that we're building towards as we, you know, work towards some type of physical or material status or position or abundance. Again, like, honestly, I kind of feel like this is saying in some cases there could be some people that are like a bit delusional about their like what it is that they're like on the path to creating right now, like maybe getting involved in some big projects or something that are really like over their head or outside their wheelhouse or like purview of experience, perhaps because they're just kind of like disregarding the truth of the matter, or like what is really right and true and appropriate for them somehow, or they're not seeing themselves clearly. So there could be that, but this is also maybe bringing up some self-doubts or maybe casting doubts or raising questions on our ability maybe to manifest or to create, or whether or not we are seeing ourselves or the outcome or the goal clearly. It could be, again, like disorienting us or confusing us and maybe like skewing our perspective or skewing our judgment somehow, or making us question our own intuition and maybe, I don't know, this whole energy right now, I feel like, again, is like blurring the lines between what is real and what is not, our ability to discern whether we should trust our own judgment or look externally for guidance or support. And that's probably just something that we're going to have to figure out within ourselves based on our own experiences and where all this leads us over this next couple of weeks. But this is another kind of just like weird tarot message that could go a whole bunch of different ways, but really I kind of feel like is about not losing sight or allowing ourselves to be confused or swayed by maybe also other people's like negative attitudes or something. Negative attitudes could also be an issue with the Mercury, Pisces, Jupiter square. And this is also perhaps making us question our belief systems as well, and whether or not we can rely on or trust our faith, or again, like trust our own intuition could be being called into question somehow. But things are going to clear up eventually, you guys. We're just moving through, you know, this period that may be causing us to question a lot of things, because maybe there's a lot of things that need to be questioned. So that's that. I'm going to get us one more card, guidance, piece of advice right now. God, Spirit, Universe. What's one final thing that we should keep in mind, tell ourselves? What advice do we need as we continue to move through this energy, move through this week? And it says, you guys, God will make it right. Judge not according to appearances, but judge righteous judgment. John 7:24. This is crazy. Be sure you know the truth. It is not always as it appears. Separate the false from the true. Come to a decision on your actions based upon what you know is true of God. With God, all things are possible. Count on God to make things right, which is just, you know, the synchronicity cards always do this to me, but the whole, like, one of the major themes of this entire video and last video, and I think even the video before that, and probably the next video too, just sort of like where we're at right now, as I've been saying a million times over and over, it's that line or that border between fact and fiction, reality and fantasy, what is real and what is not. And then this card literally says, like, separate false from true. Be sure you know the truth. It is not always how it appears to be. And that's like the red flag in this energy too, is like not overestimating, not overlooking, not having, you know, such a grandiose view of things or ourselves. Be careful with like the self-righteousness and stuff like that in this energy as well, that we are assuming something false to be true through our inability to perceive like the shortcomings or the fallacies in our own like vision or image or the information. Like there's just, you know, I've said it enough, but anyways, that's what this card is saying. Also, be sure you know the truth. It is not always how it appears. Separate the false from the true. Come to a decision on your actions based upon what you know is true of God. With God, all things are possible. Count on God to make things right. So that's the message, you guys. That's message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you liked the video. Ooh, this one, I will tell you, has been a tough one to get out. Mercury, this Mercury Pisces energy is like making it hard for me to articulate all of this as well. So I hope that that was to some extent like made sense on some level and wasn't just like too all over the place. But anyways, that's what I have to say. So that's that, and I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. I am so grateful for you guys. I really sincerely appreciate you, and your presence here means so much to me. I really appreciate knowing what's going on with you guys out there as well. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. Again, that's very valuable information to me. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of those boards that is linked in my description box below. I also have been doing Mayan Tolkien videos every day as we move through time. That are these shorts that are in the short section of my videos if you're into Mayan astrology. And come back with me on Friday, you guys. We have a weekend energy update that we need to get into. We are going to have the moon transiting through Sag. We will have a T-square going on Friday, you guys, with the same Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. So, we are going to take what we have said today and we are going to build upon that on Friday in terms of the Mercury-Jupiter square, and I will be back to talk about it. You should come back too. You don't want to miss it. I will have all your energy tea for the weekend. So I will see you then, guys. Have a beautiful midpoint of your week, and until then, bye.